Hello, friends! Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. It has been way too long. Today's episode, Newb Quest, we're going to be building an app with Socket.io. So we're going to have real-time fun with Socket.io. Say hello, Mr. Tony.
Hello.
We're back at it. It's been a while since we did a Newb Quest. Has it been months? I think the last one was the Thanos app.
Yeah, it was like October.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Cool. Let's say hello to all the wonderful people in the chat. I know a lot of people have been wanting a stream, and it's been the holidays, and I've been busy and working and all that good stuff, but we're back, and it's going to be fun. Let's say hello to the people. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Himanshu. Hello, Chad. Hello, Tony. Hello, Khaled. Hello, MC. Hello, Solomon. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Mr. Meyer. Hello, Ron. Hello, Amy. Hello, Levi. Hello, Jiraj. Andreas. Hello, Wally Oxen. All these people I have not seen in a very long time. Hello, welcome, welcome. Hello, Hydro Programmer. Hello, Mr. Technic. Hello, Ed. And hello, LB. Hello, Sergi. Hello, Conrad. Hello, Andrew Lane. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Raiku. Hello, Julian. Hello, Julian. Hello, Shivam. Hello, Kaizen. Hello, Andre. Hello, Saeed. Hello, Sagar. There's so many people are watching. I think I'm gonna stop there. Hello, Katoli. I'll stop there. But later on, if you want to say hey. I'll give you a shout out. All right. So the purpose of today's show is to learn about sockets. So we kind of brainstormed a little bit, and our idea was let me do a word wrap real quick. There you go. Our idea is to build a web page where every user can see every other user's mouse move. So sockets or WebSockets are something used in real-time communication on the web. So think of things like chat applications or anything where you're collaborating in real time with someone else. And we thought a neat way to demonstrate that would be to build a web page where when you go to it, you see the mouse moving of every other user that's on the website. That's going to be the most basic. We have some other ideas of what we can do if we actually get that working, but that's the plan for today. What do you think about that, Tony?
Sounds good.
Cool. Do you have like a lamp you could put in front of you?
I do not
Okay,
at the moment.
If you don't, it's fine. You're just a little bit.
Yeah, I'll
little
just
bit dark.
cast it. It's like some mood lighting.
Okay, cool. So the to-do will be first, what are WebSockets? We can kind of talk about where they're used as well. I mentioned a few of them. Then we'll set up a server. We'll install Socket.io on it. We'll set up a client. We'll get Socket.io going there. And then we will just figure it out from there once we get everything set up and get the main idea of how sockets work up and going. Cool. So first, what are WebSockets? I would like to begin by telling you what WebSockets are not. So if you've seen the video that I did on building Meower, which was a Twitter clone, we built what's called a RESTful API. So when this page loads, it makes a request to a server that then sends back an array of mews and then adds them to the page. And then as you scroll, it actually makes a request for more mews and then adds those to the page. And then as you scroll, it requests more and adds them to the page. So this is a typical REST API. A request is made to a server, the server responds with something, and that's it. It's over, no more. We can see that happening in Postman. If you put a URL in here and then click send, it takes a second, the server responds, you get the data. So this is the request response cycle, and this is not WebSockets. The idea with WebSockets are instead of having to request something from a server, you have a persistent connection to the server, and the server can send something to the client anytime it wants to. So Tony, can you think of some other like real-time applications out there? Like where sockets might be used? I can't hear you, Tony.
My microphone wasn't on. Yeah, I can't think of this. Like the first thing that immediately comes to mind is like video games.
Yeah, definitely. So you have hundreds, maybe thousands of users all participating in the same game, the same world. So that needs some sort of real-time communication. Like if you think about it, you could potentially implement it using something like a RESTful API, but it would be really cumbersome because the client would basically have to ask the server every single second, what's the state of the application? Where are all the players? And would constantly ask for it. But with this idea of persistent bidirectional communication, the server can just send the client that information whenever that information is updated. We talked about some potential examples are things like a chat app. That's typically the go-to tutorial that they have out there when you're learning about sockets. So just like chat on the web. Games. What about Google Docs? Right, if you've ever collaborated on a Google Doc, multiple people are all typing at the same time. That's most likely using some sort of socket connection because a user is editing something that sends a command to the server. The server then alerts everyone else that's on the page that, hey, something changed. So that's basically what we're working with today. Let's catch up on the chat. Some people were mentioning some things. And yes, you're finally catching a live stream. I think it's been close to 3 weeks since my last live stream. And I apologize, but it has been the holidays. Happy New Year. I haven't said that. Happy New Year, Tony. Everyone out there.
You got any New Year's resolutions?
To stream more? I don't know, but I keep saying that I'm going to stream more anyways. Cool. It's dark, Tony, says Ryan.
It's super dark. I know I said I don't have a light, and I have a lamp like right behind me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a light bulb in it.
Tony Noir. That's what some people said. Oh yeah, and we do plan to use VS Live Share today, so you can actually see, Tony, like move your cursor in the file, like to another line. Yeah, so you can see where Tony's cursor is in the editor. I think we'll use the screen share so that he can do things on my terminal, but for the most part, you'll be able to see him typing using Live Share, which will be cool. Oh yeah, and Mr. Technic says Live Share. Well, actually, I don't know if he mentioned it, but most likely Visual Studio Live Share, like this, the idea that Tony's cursor shows up in my document and I can see him typing, that's probably using something like sockets behind the scenes. Cool. Amy wants to know if Tony will be playing the piano for us today.
Not today.
Cool. You did mention you just got those shelves for all your synths and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, like that's my New Year's resolution, is to be more organized with all my stuff.
Cool. Yeah, some people are mentioning, like live stock market data. If you're ever on a website or cryptocurrency trackers, that stuff most likely is working on sockets. It's real-time data coming from the server with the latest information. Very cool. Ed is saying Tony is a little loud. I can turn him down slightly. There you go, Tony. You're a little bit.
No, sorry, guys.
You're fine. Cool. Yeah, and so Salman just mentioned, I think Slack is using Socket.io. So think Discord, Slack, any other like Facebook chat, any other like chat application. Those are most likely using sockets. Cool. So that's what sockets are, and that's how we're going to make this happen. Basically, you're going to go to a web page. Every user that is on the site is going to be sending its mouse coordinates to the server, and the server is then going to send all of that data to everyone that's connected, so that way we can show the mice of everyone else that's on the website. Awesome. Questions, comments, thoughts about this concept, Tony, before we get into it?
I think it's important for us to clarify, I think just so it's not like too confusing for like people using different like resolution screens.
Oh.
We're going to have like a basically almost like a canvas type thing that all the mice are bound in.
Yeah, I thought about that. So, because it could be, yeah, people are using screens of different sizes. So we might have it so when your mouse is moving in this one specific section of the website is where we'll show all the mice. We probably could do it that it's just based on like coordinate 0, 0 is the top left of your screen. And then for someone on a smaller screen, they're just going to only see mice that are in that area of the screen.
Okay.
We can definitely figure that out when we get there. One cool thing mentioned by Shivam is watching videos together using Socket.io. There are actually some apps out there that let two people watch YouTube together, and behind the scenes it's using sockets. So it keeps track of where the video is, and then when somebody else goes to that web page, it makes sure that the video stays in sync, and so you can be in two totally different places and watching the same video. Cool. All right, let's get started. We are going to be using an Express app on the back end. So I have this create Express API command that I created, which we're going to use. You don't necessarily have to use Express for this, but it's nice to have in the event that you want sockets and some RESTful endpoints. So we'll set it up with Express. We'll mostly just be using it with the socket endpoints, but if we do want to set up some endpoints, we can use Express that is there. For this, we are going to be using a library called Socket.io. WebSockets themselves are built into the web browser, and there's basically a format for creating your own socket server, but Socket.io makes it really easy to do that within a Node.js application. And they provide a client library which works even in older browsers that don't necessarily support sockets. If we go to caniuse.com, we can check out WebSockets. You can see they're mainly supported across all major browsers, but older browsers don't have full support for them, and Socket.io actually handles that for us. It falls back to things like long polling, which is a whole other concept, but to the user, it behaves the same way. And it potentially could also fall back to a Flash plugin if that doesn't work. But if your browser supports WebSockets, it'll just use the WebSocket API. Cool. So we're going to use Socket.io, but let's get started on creating our Express app. So Tony, for now, I am going to share my control of my screen with you.
All right.
And right here, we're going to run this command, npx create-express-api space, and then what we want to call it. In this case, we'll call it server. Awesome. So this is a little command line tool I built that will create a basic Express API so you can get up and going pretty much instantly. So that created it. If we go into the server folder that it created and do npm run dev, we now have an Express API listening on port 5000. Awesome. And I'll go ahead and show what the code looks like. So it has quite a bit of stuff in here. It's set up with Airbnb ESLint. I have testing and auditing and linting and all that stuff set up. But really, the main thing that we care about is the stuff in the source directory. And if we look at index.js, this is our app actually listening on a port. And if we look at app.js, this is the standard Express app that you're used to. It just has a basic endpoint, and then I have a couple of API endpoints set up as well. We can ignore those for now, though. So it's just a basic Express app. So now that we have the Express app, we are going to install Socket.io. We can take a look at the Socket.io website, and if you go into Learn, and then if you go to Get Started, they talk about what it is and just how to set it up. Actually, they show how to set it up with Express here. And if you look in their documentation, they have ways of setting it up without Express with just a plain node server. But we are going to set it up with Express. Ours is going to be a little bit trickier because we have things in separate files, and one of the main things is if you want to integrate sockets with Express, you don't do app.listen, you have to do server.listen, so we'll have to do that in a second. But the first thing is we do need this Socket.io library, so let's install that. So in the server directory, just do npm I socket.io. Okay, he ran the wrong command, but people are suggesting that if I open the integrated terminal, Tony can use it. Is that true? Let's see. Toggle integrated terminal. Tony, if you open the terminal, can you see?
It opened automatically for me.
Oh, wow. Can you type something in it?
Oh, you cannot. Apparently it's a read-only terminal.
Oh, so if
I'm requesting access.
Okay, I gave you read write.
All right, and I'm gonna do npm.
No
oh,
that's awesome. Okay, thanks for suggesting that, everyone. That's sweet. Cool. So that's handy. Yeah. So do npm I space socket.io. So that. Oh no, not. Sorry, we want to do this in the server directory. So first,
sorry.
No worries. We'll go in the server and then we'll run that command. just noticed I have a hole in my, my shirt, in my elbow.
I'm gonna go ahead and press enter.
npmi, it's a socket.io.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. Cool. So this is going to install the socket package in our Express app so that way we can actually set it up. All right, so we got that. And now...
That's crazy, though, that you can actually share the terminal.
Yeah,
and it's all on your machine.
You're typing on my machine. That's pretty crazy.
It's like a virtual machine for me.
In a way, but it probably is using sockets. Like when every keystroke, it's like sending it to my machine, and then when you hit enter, it's like executing the command. I don't know. It's crazy. Cool. Okay, so now that we installed sockets, we need to set it up with our existing Express app. So if we look at index.js, we can see this is where it's doing the listening on a specific port, and this is what's starting up the Express app. But if we look at the socket.io documentation, you will see that we actually need to use server instead. So what we'll do is we'll require in this HTTP module. So this is actually built into Node.js. Pass our app into it and then listen, which will then later on allow us to actually create the socket connection. So here's what we'll do. At the top of the file, Tony, can you just require in HTTP? So just do const HTTP equals require HTTP. Hello, Emmanuel. Welcome to the stream. Awesome. And then if we look at their docs, so they did it all in line here. So they required HTTP and then did .server and pass in app. But we can just do that on a separate line. So right there on line 5, just do const server equals HTTP dot capital server, and then pass in, invoke it and pass in the app variable. Yeah, just like that. And so what this does is it takes the Express app that we have defined in a separate file, passes it into this new HTTP server, and now right here on line 8, instead of doing app.listen, we'll do server.listen. So I'll just go ahead and change that. Server.listen. You have a cat behind you, Tony. Be careful.
Yeah.
Cool. And if we look at their docs, this is basically what they're doing. We just have the code moved around a little bit. So pull in HTTP, pass in the app, and then listen. But now that we have this server variable, we can actually create the socket connection. Cool. Oh, wow. So Lenny is mentioning, as far as they know, by default, VS Code uses a peer-to-peer connection. So it might not actually be WebSockets, but a persistent peer connection where two client computers are connected to each other and sending each other data back and forth. Cool. Okay, so our Express app should still be running, and it should still work just fine. Yeah, so we can still make the request there. I do have NodeMon running, so it automatically restarted, but the server is working just fine, even with that change that we made. The next step is to now create the socket server. And we can see in their example file on this line right here, it requires in socket.io and then passes in server. So here's what we will do. We're actually going to do this in a separate file just to keep the code clean and maintainable. So Tony, in the source directory, can you create a new file and just call it sockets.js? Cool. And then now at the top of the file, create a variable called socket.io and then require in socket.io.
Should I do socket.io like that?
This will not work because that's not a valid variable name. So
Okay, so
typically you see it like
IO? Okay,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And I'm requiring socket.io.
Yeah, but put that in quotes. Yes, awesome. And make it a const as well. Andreas does ask, if you want regular REST endpoints, would you use server or app? You would still just use app. So The cool thing about how I have this set up is index.js just does the listening, but you'll notice it requires in the app file. And if we look at the app file, that's just our regular plain old Express app. So we can add routes in here. We're even defining routes in separate files and requiring those in. So all of your regular Express stuff is still just going to go on app, but socket specifically is going to use that server variable. Someone... Oliver says, var, this is an outrage. But yes, Tony changed it to const. Thank you very much, Tony.
Sorry.
No worries. Someone else asked, where can you get the boilerplate code? I will share that link real quick. So if you go on npm and search for create express API, this is the command that you can run. On your machine, you can just do npx create express API and then the name of the app that you want. If you want to see, and Sergi just shared it in the chat. So that command, essentially all it does is a git clone of this repository here. And so this is a repository setup. This is the thing that it cloned down to my machine, and it has the same source directory and everything else like that. So if you just want to clone it yourself, you can check out that link. There you go. Cool. Okay, so in our index, we're using HTTP and server instead. We're listening with server instead. And now we're defining this separate sockets file. And what we're going to do is define a function that takes in the server variable and then actually initializes the connection. So let's create a function, just call it init.
Mm-hmm.
And then give it a body, but it will take in one parameter server. Cool. I'm getting this weird error in Visual Studio. Let me see if I can fix that really quick. No such file or directory. Can I ignore this error?
It's kind of crazy though, like how the screen sharing thing, like there's lag when I'm typing on your screen, but there's like no lag in what you put on your end versus what I see in Visual Studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's seamless.
Because the thing about Visual Studio is, like, as I'm typing, I'm technically typing on my machine. It's just sending that stuff to your machine as I type.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the screen share is like capturing an image of the desktop and then sending that. I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna have this function called init, and inside of here we're gonna have access to server. So this is where we will actually do the socket stuff. So we can see here it creates this IO variable by taking socket IO and then invoking it with server. So we're going to do that inside of this function we just created. So let's create a variable called IO.
Okay.
And that's going to be equal to socket IO invoked with server passed into it. Cool. And so this actually sets up a socket server on this same server that has this Express app. Cool. And then now we can actually do the listening. So the way this works is it has this on function, and you essentially pass it a callback that's going to get called every time a socket connects to our server. So here we say on connection, run this function, and then we'll do some various things inside of it. Well, essentially, this sends a message back to the client that just connected, and then also listens for other events. So let's do that right here. So do io.on and pass in a string, was it connection? And then as a second parameter, let's just do an arrow function that takes in socket. Opposite. So like this, I'll do it. So socket is the parameter, and then this is the function that will run. Cool. So basically, this is our server. It's waiting for socket connections, and whenever something connects, this function is going to run. For now, let's just do a console log and say client connected. Awesome. We're going to get this working, but then I kind of want to fix... I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but this error just keeps popping up. No such file or directory. Oh, that could be the terminal. I'm going to close the terminal for now. It could be an issue since you're on a Windows machine.
It might be something to do with like I don't have like the newest version
of VS
Visual
Code?
Studio.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It usually updates automatically. I don't know.
Oh.
Regardless. Okay, so this is our basic server code. Create the socket server, listen for connections, and then when someone connects, we'll log client connected. Great. Last thing we'll do is we'll export this function from this file so that way we can use it in the other file and actually pass the server into it. So let's do module.exports. Set it equal to an object. And inside the object, just throw init inside of there. Don't invoke it though. We're basically, I'll help you out here. We basically just want to put that init property on the object. Cool. So this creates the socket connection. Now we're going to go back over to index.js and we'll actually bring in that file and call that function. So right on line 4, bring in the sockets variable by requiring in the sockets file. So just const sockets equals require, and then in quotes a relative path to the sockets. Cool. So now we have this sockets object, which we just exported here, that has the init function on it. So we're going to call it right after we create the server right here. So right there, we can just say sockets.init and pass in the server. Awesome. So we should be up and going. We can also do a log here and just say like something like sockets server is listening for connections. Cool. So we have that log, and if we look at our terminal log with where Node is running, it says socket server is listening for connections, and the Express app is listening on port 5000. Great. So we should be good to go in terms of server setup. Now we can set up the client, which will actually connect, and then we should see this client connected message. Cool. So we created that. We're not quite emitting a message just yet. I do want to show that it is working, and then we can work on emitting messages. Cool. We did that. Awesome. So now we're going to set up the client. So just like all the other apps that we typically build, we have a separate client and a separate server. We're going to be creating a separate client that connects to this server, and this will be the app that people visit in the browser to be able to see all of the mice on the screen. So in the terminal, cd up one directory, Tony.
Hold on, I gotta pull the terminal up.
Okay.
It's weird. It didn't pull up this time.
Do you see me typing in the terminal at all?
No, like the first time you pulled up the terminal, like I could see it on my end.
Press Control-Shift-P, search for toggle integrated terminal.
All right, there it is.
Cool. Okay, and once you're in it, cd up one directory, and then we'll create a directory called client. Awesome. Go into the client folder, yep. And we're going to do something interesting today, Tony. We are going to be using vanilla.js, but we're going to be using this thing called Parcel, which is a module bundler. Basically, it will allow us to import things in on the front end like we do like in Vue.js code, but still just we're going to be writing vanilla JavaScript. And it's actually pretty easy to set up. So in the client directory, do npm init -y. That'll set up a package JSON. Space dash y.
Nope.
Yep. And I gotta get this error to go away. Now we're going to install the things that we need. So if we look at what we need, Parcel Bundler is the thing that I talked about. It's going to do the bundling. And then Socket.io client is a package that allows us to connect to a Socket.io server. So I'll just copy this command so we don't have to type it. And this is going to install those two things in our client directory. So it is important to note here that we have two separate folders with two separate package JSONs. The server has a package JSON with all of the things it needs for the server, like Express and Socket.io. And then our client has a separate package JSON, which is pretty much only going to have Parcel and Socket.io inside of it. This error keeps popping up. But right, so in the client folder, you see this package JSON. It has its own dependencies, Parcel and Socket.io. Okay, for the sake of this is bothering me so much, I'm going to figure out what this command is and how to get rid of it. No such file or directory uvcwd. VS Code. Yeah, no such file or direct. I guess can we see where this error originates from? Oh, source is ESLint. My goodness. I don't want to disable ESLint though. Just a second. We're gonna fix this. Is it UVCWD? Yeah. Well, this is a different project. Yeah, that's the same error. This happens inside the TypeScript language server and not inside tslint. You can disable VS Code tslint extension to verify this. Can I just hide the error? Let's take a poll. How many of you out there are annoyed by this error that keeps popping up? And who's okay with just moving right along?
I want to take a caveat and like I want to say that the people are annoyed with the error are the same kind of people that get annoyed by like spaces versus tabs.
Okay, I'm one of those people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't care.
Okay.
Someone else might care.
Okay, we're gonna leave it. Amy says it doesn't bother her. That's fine with me. Okay, and I guess we don't exactly need the terminal for now. So I think if I close. I thought if I closed the terminal, it stopped going away. Oh well. I really don't want to disable ESLint. Okay. We now have our client folder. We have the packages that we need. And now we're going to set it up with a basic HTML file. So in the client folder, I'll create a new file, index.html.
We didn't say what that question mark was, like the stretch thing for this app.
Wait, what?
So on the to-do list, it has like a question mark at the bottom.
That's just like all the only checklist I have is getting things set up. The check.
Okay, we didn't tell everybody like the true secret idea for this.
Oh, I think we did this thing.
No.
Oh.
Web volleyball.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and say it. So the app that we're building in the most basic form we're going to try to get there is where you see every other user's mouse on the page. But if we can do it, we want to make it so that there will be like a volleyball on the page or a beach ball, and everyone's mouse can like hit the beach ball up, and so you're all like playing with a beach ball on the same web page.
The other stretch idea was that like we have a game where like the first person to log in on the page has like a giant mouse, and basically all the smaller mice have to run away from that mouse.
Like similar to Slither.io, but you're just like moving the mouse on the screen. It seems like one mouse could just get really overpowered because it's so big and just overtake everyone. I don't know. Cool. Okay, we digress. We made an index.html file. Let's just create a basic HTML file. We'll call this web beach ball. For now, we'll get rid of these styles and script. In the body, Tony, can you just add an H1 that says, I don't know, real-time fun or something?
Real-time fun.
Real-time fun.
All right. Real-time fun. Just.
Well, put it into H1.
All right.
Real-time for real-time noobs. Cool. Okay, Tony. So that's great. Next thing we'll do is we'll create a source directory. So we'll create source. This is going to be for the client. And inside of here, we'll have a new file. We'll call it index.js. Remember, this is running on the client. For now, we'll just log hello world or real-time fun. Log something in this file, Tony.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry, like I'm chatting with somebody. And I'm at index.js. Which index.js are you in?
In the client folder. So go to client source index.js. And Tony,
Okay.
close all your other chat windows. We're in the middle of a live show.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot of people watching.
All right. Where am I logging?
You're just logging something to let us know that it's working. Levi does mention in the chat that the socket.io client JavaScript is automatically hosted on the server. I think the only issue with that is we don't have static file serving in the Express app that we created. It's only an API. So we're actually going to install the client library separately and just use it separately on the client. And the other thing is we will be hosting these things separately. We'll have a separate client and a separate server. So the client will just have its dependency locally instead of getting it from the server. You did good, kid. Okay. Awesome. So we have our main file for our client. In our index.html, we need to add a script tag. So I'm just going to set the source to be, source will be source/index.js. And I think that's it. Watch how easy it is to start this thing up with Parcel. Are you ready, Tony?
I'm ready.
Okay, on line 7 in the package.json in the client folder, change the test script to be start. The property. So change the property.
Oh,
itself.
sorry.
No worries. So make that start. And then the command right there will be parcel space index.html. Cool, and that should do it. So basically what this does is it sets up an auto-refreshing dev server that will automatically transpile all of our code and do all the stuff that normally happens when you like build an app, but it's going to do that instantly. So in the terminal, in the client, in the client directory, just do npm start. And you'll see that it starts up a server on a different port 1234. And if we go there, we get our website, Realtime for real-time noobs. And if we look at the console, you did good, kid. Cool. So we have a basic client set up with Parcel, and we do have our socket server that's currently up and running and listening.
That's interesting. I can't actually like, so I can click on that link. I can't open it though.
Yeah, because it's running
It's
on.
on your
Yeah,
machine.
it's definitely running on my machine. Like you, it's not running on your machine, and they probably not running on your machine because all of the Node modules were installed for a Mac. They probably wouldn't work with your Windows machine.
Mm.
So we can see it on mine, we can't see it on yours.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. Let's go back to the README. We have all of our files. We added the start script. And now we can set up the socket connection. So on the client, this is the client, remember. Just add ourselves a comment. This is the client. Just so we don't confuse it with the other index.js. Inside of here, we can import in the Socket.io client library and then actually do the connection to the server. So if we look at the Socket.io docs, you can see how they're doing it here. They're actually pulling in a script tag and then connecting like so. But the library that we installed was the Socket.io client. And it will be similar, but instead we can actually import it in because Parcel allows us to do the ES6 import. So right at the top, do import IO from, and then in quotes, socket.io-client. No, wait, people are telling me that I can share the server too. That's crazy. Okay. And enable it in the Love Share panel. So if I go to Live Share Settings, Shared Servers, enter the TCP port to share with guests. Provide a display name, client. Let's add another one. I'll give you the server too. Port 5000 is the server. Cool, Tony. I think you can try and go to it now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah!
It works.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my screen.
Thanks for the suggestion, everyone. Cool. Apparently, so you can go to the client. You see real-time web for.
Yeah, I see real-time. Real-time. Actually, I did typo. It just says real-time for real-time noobs.
Cool. That's great. Okay, so now we have the IO library on the client. We can actually listen for when it connects to the server. Well, actually, we'll create the connection. So you'll see in their example, they're creating a socket variable, doing io.connect, and then passing in the location of the server. We're going to do something very similar. First thing we'll do, though, is let's just create an API variable. So API URL. We'll set that equal to localhost port 5000, because that's where our server is listening. And then we can actually connect to it. So you'll notice they create a socket variable that's equal to io.connect and then pass in the server. So let's do that. So just say like const socket equals io.connect and then pass in API URL. Awesome. And then the one event that we're going to listen for, actually, I think we can listen for, yeah, we should just listen to these by default. So we're going to listen for the connect event, and then we'll just log, hey, we connected to the server. So on the next line, do socket.on and then pass in the string connect in single quotes. So, and the way this works is the client is essentially listening for messages. The server can send any message, and messages have a specific name. This is like a reserved name called connect that will get called when it actually connects to the server. And you pass in a callback function that will actually get called when the connection happens. So right here, we're just going to log connected to the server.
Should you plug in your computer?
Yes, I'm at 23%. So here's what we'll do. We'll make sure this is working. I'll push it to GitHub, then I'll plug in my computer. I know there's some people that were following along and want to grab the code. But let's see if this works. So when we look at the console in the browser, we should see connected to the server.
And because we're doing the share thing and I'm logged into GitHub, it should actually list me as a contributor, right?
No. Oh,
No, it doesn't work like that?
It only whenever you make commits is when it would use your name. We should probably we could use like git pair or something like that would use both of our names.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I was just curious if like Visual Studio like had that as a feature. Like it would show like the lines and that I would do.
No. But Tony, if you look in your browser at the app that's open, do you see connected to the socket server?
Let me pull up the DevTools.
Yeah, pull up the terminal. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It says
Yes. Okay. So this is actually going to be pretty sweet because it's sharing, VS Live Share is sharing our servers automatically. When we get this working with the mice, I should be able to see your mouse on my screen, and you should be able to see mine when we get it working.
right.
I guess the other thing is if we look at the server log, yeah, we can see every time a client connects, it logs client connected. So Tony, refresh your page, and we should see a new log here.
Refreshing.
Yeah. So, because
Refreshing again.
yeah, there we go.
And again. What?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, if the connection ever gets like lost, the next time it connects, it's a totally new connection with a totally new ID. Like right now, there's no way of us identifying a specific user or specific web browser. But I guess it is cool to see. Like I can refresh the page, you can refresh the page, and because the page loads again, it reconnects to the server. It's pretty great. Yeah, Tony?
That's blowing my mind right now.
Awesome. Okay, so I need to plug in my machine. Actually, Tony, I think you can do this.
Connect your computer to the charger.
No, like git commit everything. So this is not. I'll go ahead and do it. We'll init it. I need a node get ignore file.
I do have a different emoji than you. No, never mind. That's because you have the Apple emoji. Your dragon looks different than mine.
Oh, okay. Gonna add everything. Cool. Oh, I'll do this one. But you can't. Oh, never mind, Tony. I was gonna say you could create the repo, but you don't have access to the coding garden.
No, that's fine.
I'll just do it. What are we gonna call this app? Like real-time noobs?
Real-time. Yeah, that's fine.
Or mouse with friends?
Mouse with friends.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay. Oh, that's not the right one. Here. We did it! Alright, I'm gonna go grab my charger. Keep them entertained, Tony. But keep it PG.
Oh. I don't really know what to do, guys. I have no idea what to do. Yeah, that is interesting though. VS Code needs you to log in, and it didn't accept anything on the GitHub thing. Like I can see like in the Visual Studio thing, I can see all the stuff that CJ does, but it's weird that it doesn't go up already.
I'm back, Tony.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, like, I can see all the changes that you did and I did in Visual Studio, but it's interesting to me that, like, if you were to upload that to GitHub, it doesn't recognize multiple people.
Well, you actually see who edited which line?
But, like,
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing to think about. When you do a git commit, it's a collection of changes, right? It's not each individual line. We definitely need to put it on our to-do list to set up git pair. I've never done it before, so I don't know how easy it is, but we could make it so that every commit has both of our names and faces on it.
yeah, we'll have to mess around with that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, because it says, like, me, for example, on the package JSON says one author, you.
Are you
But I wonder
getting jealous now, Tony? Or like
what, for you putting the stuff up to GitHub?
yeah, well no, I'm taking all of the credit. I don't know.
No, like, no, I'm fine with it.
We'll
I
we'll
feel,
definitely figure it out. We can also like go update the git history later on and put both of our names in it.
well, I know, like, for example, that was something whenever I went in for that little interview a while back, like, I
Yeah,
uploaded some of the stuff to GitHub that we had done together, and, like, it originally had, like, just your name on the GitHub
right.
thing,
Yeah, that makes
but
sense.
it was still push up to my GitHub, and I was, like, thinking, like, if, like, somebody looked at this, it looks like I didn't do anything, like, on here at all. Like, it's like I just took it from somewhere else.
This is very true. This is very true. We will fix it. It should it should be the next thing that we do because we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, we've got, like, a few things that we were gonna do that we have not told anybody about. I guess, like the game.
Yeah, well, don't mention that, Tony. It's
Okay, it's
super secret surprise. Oliver is mentioning Git co-authored by. Commit together with co-authors. How it works. Just add one or more co-authored by trailers to the end of the commit message. Oh, okay. Let's do this. We'll create a message that we can copy. And actually, I've got an even better plan. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the entire Git folder. I'm going to do a git init. Can you do multi-line? Yeah, you can definitely do multi-lines. Yes, it's going to let us do multi-lines. That's great. Because then we can add that message. Let's go ahead and do an example in the README. Not this one. This one. CJR. Wait. How does that work? Can I just do that? And Tony, what's your email you use with GitHub?
alamentina@gmail.com.
Is that how you spell it?
ITI. You known me for how long?
Too long. Lam.
LAM.
Lamit.
A Lamentina.
Like that?
Yeah, that's good. That is
cool.
That is kosher.
What's your GitHub username or your name on Git? Is just Tony?
Yeah, just put Tony's fine.
Okay. All right, let's see if it works.
Somebody was saying, like, when you left, it was like the awkward silence. Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, if we do a git log, that's there. Let's check it out on GitHub. It should show both of our faces. It doesn't.
Nah, no worries. We'll figure it out later.
Include your trailers at the end of... Weird. Oh, well. Okay, we digress. We'll definitely we're gonna figure it out, Tony. We need to get you some commits on GitHub and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If we look at our to-do list, I think we're pretty much done. So we're not we're not listening for Hello World just yet, but we are we let's kind of review what we have here, right? So if we look back at our server folder, this sockets file. This thing starts up a socket.io server using our existing server, and then listens for any client that connects to it, and then just logs to its terminal client connected. So this is our server-side code. And then in our client-side code, we connect to that server, and when we connect, we just log to the client console connected to the socket server. So at this point, we're connected. Now we can listen for other messages. So let's do this. In our server-side code, sockets.js, whenever a socket connects, instead of logging here, let's emit a message. So there are, on this socket variable, there's this function you can use called emit that will send a message. So this will send a message back to the client. I think the other thing we can do is io.emit. This will send a message to every single connected client. So let's do this. Let's emit a message to every single client that's connected. The first parameter is the name of the message. So what should we call this? Just like message, hello?
Yeah, like message dash hello.
Message. Let's call it message client dash connected. It's long-winded, but regardless. So when a socket connects, we're going to emit this, and we'll just emit. We can use their socket ID. So we'll say a client with ID, and right here we can throw socket.id. We'll say was connected. So what this will do is every time a client connects to the server is then going to send a message to every other connected client that specific client with that ID was connected. Cool? All right, so now that we're emitting this message, we need to listen for this message. So we have to use the exact same name, and then on the client, we can do another socket.on. So notice before we were doing socket.on connect. In this case, we'll do socket on message client connected. So let's do that. Oh, people are making a good point. I did the co-author commit, but I didn't push it up to GitHub. Go ahead and do this. So, but you're going to do it the same way this works. So basically, you invoke it, and then you need to pass in the name of the message. I think I copied it. Yeah. So that's the message that we're listening for. And then we have our callback function there where we can actually get access to the message. So it'll be like this. And then inside of here, let's just log out the message. Be out there. Oh. Okay. So here's the way to think about this. This is our server. A client connects, and then we emit this message with this name, message client connected. And the contents of that message is just this string, client with ID was connected. So because this is the second parameter, on the client, when it receives the message, this message variable will be that specific message that just got sent, right? Okay, so now let's try it out. So if we look back at our client, just refresh the page. So mine loaded, and it says client with this ID was connected because that's my ID. But if you refresh the page, Tony, I should see your client ID. Yeah, look at that. And if you're looking at your console, and if I refresh the page, you should see someone else was connected.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Okay, someone mentioned I didn't push this. Yeah, and I need to do a git push, a force. What? Oh. Gotta go back to GitHub. Okay, Tony, I think this will do it. Yeah, look, it's got both of our faces on it. That's sweet. Nice.
Maker of bleeps and bloops.
I like it. Okay. That's awesome. We're connecting. We're sending specific messages. Now let's figure out how we're going to do this. So on the client, we can listen for when the mouse moves. When the mouse moves, we can send a message to the server, hey, these are my coordinates. And we can send it with its specific socket ID. And then the server will then emit the coordinates of the mouse and that socket ID to every other client. And then the client can just update the location of the mouse on the page. Right? In theory, that sounds like what we're going to do. Yeah. Okay. So let's do that. This is where the question marks come in. We didn't really know how we were going to do this, but we're going to do it now. I think the first thing is let's just listen for the mouse coordinates on the client. And we can do that just in here. So let's say, let's do it before our connection stuff. No, we'll do it here. Well, no. After we are connected, that's... No, that's fine. Let's do it right here. Right there. So right there, let's add an event listener to the page. Just do document.add event listener. And we're going to listen for mouse move. So in quotes, put mouse move. I think it's all lowercase. We'll see though. And then this accepts a callback that it gets access to the event. And for now, we're just going to log the event. See what we get access to. So now if you go back to that page and you move your mouse, you should see a bunch of console logs. And inside of there, we have access to the coordinates. So we have screen X, screen Y, and we have client X, client Y. I think client X and client Y are probably what we want, because that's in with reference to the page itself. So like if you move your mouse all the way up to the top left, yeah, so client X, client Y should be like 0, 0.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we'll use. So here, let's just log, so log event.clientX, and then on do a comma and do event.clientY. Yep. For whatever reason, you're not typing in the console log. I don't know if that's
weird.
Were you typing it in on your computer?
Yeah, like there was like another thing, like for example, line 12.
Mm-hmm.
On my screen, it is all weird. Like it says like low message.
I wonder if you can like resync the connection or like.
Here, like let me see. I'm just gonna copy and paste it like where it is. I'll see.
Weird.
Yeah, it's like that's what I see.
Okay, so there's some Coke console. Coke. console. Okay, cool. Yeah, so now we're just seeing these like XY coordinates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's great. But now what we can do is we could emit an event that has these coordinates and then has our specific socket ID on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's just do it. Let's emit a message here. So do socket.emit. And we have to give it the name of the message. Let's just call this mouse move. Awesome. And in this case, instead of sending a string, we'll just send an object. So let's send an x property. So let's set x equal to event.clientx. So just do x colon event.clientx, and then also add a y property. That's y colon event.clienty. Okay. Awesome. So this thing is emitting this event. That's great. Now our server needs to listen for it. So if we go back to our server, believe we can do. Curious if it will be io.on or socket.on. Let's look at the socket documentation really quick. So sending and receiving events. Yeah, so this specific socket, when it receives a message, it can do something with it. So we'll do that inside of here. We'll just say socket.on mouse move, and then we can actually get access to the mouse coordinates. So, well, just a second. So the first property is the name of the message, so that will need to be in quotes. And then the second parameter is a function that will get access to the object that we just sent it. So basically, this object, we're sending it to the server, and then right here, we'll have a function that gets access to that object. So create an arrow function, and the parameter to the function could just be, call it event. And then for now, let's just log the event right there. Awesome. And so this is going to log on our server, and we're getting actually pretty close. So Tony, if you refresh the page.
Okay, refreshing page.
And then start moving your mouse around. Yes. Look at my screen.
I'm stopping.
Yep, so you stopped and then move your mouse.
Moving?
Yeah, so you're actually sending your mouse coordinates to my server, and I can see it.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
That's absolutely bonkers, man.
Okay, so that's great. And actually, I mean, if I go to the page too, then we should be able to see it. Let's just do that. It's going to be a ton of messages. So like, notice I'm moving my mouse and it's sending messages, but if you move your mouse at the same time,
yeah,
we're both going to be sending messages. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Look at all those messages. Cool. But one thing we can do is on the server, when we send that event, we can then re-emit it to all other clients, but include the socket ID. So here's what I'm thinking. The client is going to be listening for this mouse move as well. So yeah, client emits mouse move. That's great. But we're also going to be listening for mouse move. And in listening for mouse move, we're essentially getting the mouse movements of every other client that is connected. We can call this event also. So this is events of other clients, not of ourselves. So right now, this shouldn't log anything. So if you refresh the page and move your mouse around, you shouldn't see any logs because our server isn't sending that information back out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, let's actually re-emit it out. And Sergi is asking, how are you going to identify each visitor? Right now, I'm just thinking we use their socket ID. So you can see on the server, you have access to socket ID. This is a unique ID that will exist as long as that client is connected. Now, one thing we're going to have to fix or we're going to have to worry about is if a client disconnects, they now get a new socket ID. So we would have to fix that so we don't have any like zombie mice that are just sitting there. But for now, we can re-emit this thing. So the server is listening for mouse move. Now remember, when we do io.emit, it sends it to all connected clients. So let's do that here. So receive the mouse event, and then we're going to re-emit it. So right here, let's do io.emit. We're going to emit mouse move. Put it in quotes. And here we will, we basically want to send the XY coordinates that's on the event, but we want to make sure that the event has the socket ID on it. So before we send it, let's say event.id equals socket.id. Oh, Sergi is mentioning you can do emit on the client. I'm thinking I want to do it on the server. We'll figure it out. But, oh, no. What did you do, Tony? Right here, do event.id equals.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, basically we're adding the ID property before we emit it. Okay. And just like that, Tony, if you start moving your mouse, we should see some info on the client. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the thing is it's emitting it for my ID as well.
No, there's different IDs.
Yeah, but it's logging my ID on my machine. Wait, we might actually do that. So Sergi is mentioning that you can use emit on the client. So let's do that. If we right here do io.emit instead, that should go to every other client. Yeah, and Andrew Lane is saying we could sanitize the event before emit it. Essentially, we could check to see or on the client itself, we can check and make sure that its ID is not the same. And if it's not the same, then we'll add something to the screen. But let's see if this works, this io.emit. And then we shouldn't have to listen for it on the server anymore. Let's see what happens. Socket.emit is not a function. Maybe I'll have to look at the docs, but Sergi is saying you can do emit on the client. So an emit right now on the client is just sending it to the server. It doesn't go to all other clients that are connected, but that's actually what we want to do. And the way we handled that was we essentially just send it right back out. Let's look at the docs for io.emit. There's probably a way of emitting it and not sending it to that specific client, like a broadcast or something like that. Can we look at the API? Client API. Is it socket.broadcast? So socket.emit emits an event to the socket identified by the string name. Any other parameters can be included. What about socket.send? Sends a message event. Let's look at the Oliver is saying you can use rooms to do the broadcast from the client. Let's check out, back in the documentation, they did start to talk about rooms and namespaces. So the following two will emit to all sockets connected to /. Each namespace emits a connection event. To set up a custom namespace, you can call the OF function. On the client side, use a namespace. And then simply use to or in when broadcasting or emitting. Look for broadcast.
If like everyone leaves, technically, like would there still be like a broadcast room?
It should be, yeah, because the server creates the room and then people can connect to the room.
Mm.
Yeah, let's see. So each socket and socket IO is identified by a random, unguessable, unique identifier. For your convenience, each socket automatically joins a room identified by this ID. This makes it easy to broadcast messages to other sockets. I'm curious if this is... this is server-side code, io.2. Yeah, Oliver says the server re-emitting is the most logical in my opinion. I'm just going to say that Oliver is always right, and we're going to go with what they're saying. Let's keep doing what we're doing. So client side emits mouse move. Server receives mouse move and then emits it to every other client. One thing we can then do on the client side, though, is when we're listening for mouse move, I believe we might have access to event.id. So we'll say something like if socket.id does not equal event.id, we'll log the event. So that way it only logs the events of other users, not the current user that's on the page. Just to be sure, let's make sure we have a socket ID. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, so we do have this ID, and you'll notice I'm moving my mouse, but it's not logging anything. But Tony, if you move your mouse, it is logging things. Awesome. That's the main thing we wanted to avoid. Like, I don't want to alert myself that my mouse is moving. I only want to know when someone else's mouse is moving. Okay. I think we're doing it, Tony. At this point, we need to show something on the page. We could show like a circle that represents another user. Should we find an image of like a pointer and use that? What do you think we should do?
Yeah, is there like some emoji or some sort of graphic of a mouse?
We could just do a random emoji. So
Yeah.
You just see emojis moving on the screen, but it's actually someone else's mouse.
Okay, yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. So here's what I want to do. When a mouse is moved, I want to either add an element to the page or get reference to an existing element, so that way I can update its location. So here's what I'm thinking. So like we have the body here. Let's just get rid of this h1 for now. And what we'll do is when someone's mouse moves, we'll add just like a span to the page that has like an emoji inside of it. Let's throw a mouse in there. Okay, so we'll see this mouse. But we should be able to directly specify its XY coordinates. So if we specify its style attribute like top 20, left 60, that should move it, and we have to give it position absolute. Is it relative? Fixed. Oh, our body probably needs to be the full width of the whole thing as well. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add some styles here. Let's create styles.css. Let's say our body has no margin. It has a width of 100 view width. It has height of 100 view height. And for now, let's just make, what color should we make the background? Just black?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, and then now we'll pull this style file in. So here we're just going to link styles.css. Source/styles.css. Cool. And if we look at the inspector, okay, that I think it might be that a span can't have fixed coordinates. Yeah, let's see. Oh, these need to be pixels. Okay, yes. Yes, I was missing pixels. Okay, but notice, Tony, so I set like top 20 pixels, left 60 pixels, but if I do top 100 pixels, that mouse is going to drop down to there, right?
Right.
So what we'll do is we'll update this to have the top left of whatever event is getting sent. And that specific element will have the ID of some other socket. So that way we won't re-add it to the page. We'll just update its location on the page.
Okay.
Cool. So this basically is the thing that we want to create. In our JavaScript, let's go ahead and get a reference to... I guess we don't have to get a reference. I think what I want to do is store all of the mice. So we'll say like mice is an object, and every time we create a new element on the page, we're just going to put it in here so that way we can instantly access it. And here's what we'll do. If the ID is not our ID, and that ID does not exist inside of mice, so just do if not mice bracket event.id. Yeah, so this says if mice doesn't have that ID inside of it, we're going to put it in there. So we're going to say mice... Oh, wait. I think we'll do this separately. So we'll say mice at event.id is equal to mice at event.id, or we'll create the element itself. So we'll do document.create element. Let's create a span. Okay, never mind. We're going to write this the long-winded way. Let's say let mouse equal mice at event.id. Cool. And then if it doesn't exist, we'll create it. Otherwise, we just got access to it. So now we'll say if mouse is not a thing, then we're going to actually create it. So now let's create an element on the page. So let's just say like const span equals document.create element. Yeah, and someone is mentioning, I do not hate you all. We're just trying to get this thing coded. But someone is mentioning, instead of creating it here, technically when the client gets connected, we could just add it to the page. I think that makes sense. We'll go ahead and write the code, but then it would be easy enough to just move it in here. And then here, we just update it. Cool. So this is actually going to be document.create element. And we're going to create a span. We'll say span.text content, and we're going to set it equal to that mouse emoji.
You know, put it in there.
Yeah, I can do it. There you go. And this should be text content with capital C. We'll say span.style.position. It's going to be relative. And here's where we update it. So we'll say, oh, and then we need to put it in there. So we'll say mouse equals span. We'll say mice at event.id equals that span. So the next time it comes through here, we can just reference that specific mouse. So mouse is technically the span that's on the page. Cool. So now we update it. Let's do mouse.style.top.
All right.
And we're going to set that, it's a property, so we're going to set it equal to event.y. And then, so lowercase y. But we'll just add pixels on the end there. Like that. And we want to do the same thing with left. So event.style.left will be event.x. Okay. I think that should do it. Tony, refresh the page and then start moving your mouse around.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I don't see anything. Oh, we didn't add it to the page.
Oh.
So right after we create it, we need to add it. So we'll say document.body.append child span. Okay. Go for it, Tony.
Oh, weird. All right. Here we go. Refreshing page, and there I come.
I can see you. Can you see me?
Yeah. It's weird. I can't see myself on here.
You should only see. Well, it's refresh the page. Yeah. So I didn't refresh my page, so it was like left over from before. But
Okay.
yeah. But yeah. Now. Yeah, and then if you refresh the page, the old one's sticking around, so we need to handle that. Yes, we did it. Sort of. We need to see how this handles like 60 people on the page all at the same time.
We got to break it.
That's so great. Okay. Let's increase the size of it really quick. Let's say a span has a font size 2 Ms. Let's go even bigger. Some really big mice.
Oh God.
All right. If you refresh the page.
Refreshing.
Okay. Is it slower to update now? Are you moving slow or fast?
Here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Epilepsy warning for this stream.
Yeah. Okay. We need to fix some things. So basically, if a client disconnects, we need to remove it. And this will actually make it a lot easier. So in our client side code, we're doing this thing when the mouse moves. If we haven't seen it before, we're going to create it. But here's what we'll do. We'll just move this code into the client connect. So when a client connects, we'll get access to its ID. And when a client connects, we're just going to use its ID. And we'll add it to the page. And then later on, we're just going to move it. Then we can also listen for client disconnected, and we'll remove it at that point, so we're not moving it anymore. So our message client connected, we're just going to pass in socket.id. So when someone connects, we emit to every other client, this ID is the one that connected. I think we want to use that same logic. Like if the ID is our ID, we don't want to add it to the page. Okay. And so now this, let's refresh the page. Okay. Did you refresh the page?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. And now if you start moving it, I should still be able to see it. Are you moving?
Yeah, I was.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is.
Refreshing it again. Okay.
Okay. We probably need to handle when a client disconnects, remove it from the page. So we'll handle that next. Okay. And I believe we can do that in here. Socket on disconnect. Let's take a look at the socket.io docs. Yeah, sending and receiving events. Yeah, so socket on disconnect. we can emit that. So we'll listen for it on our server. So now inside of our server code, Tony, in sockets.js, we do socket.on disconnect. Oh, sorry. So it's very similar to this. So you do socket.on, and then the first parameter is the string disconnect. Yes, and that's a good point. So Axel is saying already connected users won't be shown. That's another thing we'll need to handle. So the server can keep track of who has connected and disconnected, and yeah, I guess that's a good point, because when a user joins the page, they're not going to get that connection event that other people that were already on the page, they're not going to get that connect event because they're technically already connected. We'll have to handle that, but that's a good point. Yeah, so when a socket was disconnected, we're just going to emit something very similar. So right here, let's emit message client disconnected. Cool. And now on the client, we can listen for that same event. So similarly, for when we were listening on for connected, we'll listen for disconnected. And basically, we'll just check, okay, is the mouse in this object? If it is, remove it from the page. So we'll say if mice at ID, document.body.remove child mice at ID. So now, if we refresh the page, this should at least get rid of all those extra mice. Yeah, I'm curious what this one is. Oh, I left it. Did I leave it in my HTML? No, I didn't. Oh, does not equal ID. That's why. Okay, refresh the page. Okay, so I don't see any mice, but now I see Tony's mouse. But Tony, if you just close the tab, Tony.
All right. Close the tab.
You closed it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the disconnect event, I guess. Refresh the page though, so like open it back up. People are telling me this should be absolute or fix probably. Okay, and then if you refresh the page, Tony, and then start moving your mouse around.
Trying to load the page right now.
Yep. Wow. And can you see my mouse?
No.
Oh, that's because I was connected before you were connected. That's something that we definitely need to fix. I think that's actually why I like this, just doing this in the mouse move function. Yeah, and technically we don't have to listen for client connected anymore. Because that way, if there are other users already connected, it just, whenever their mouse moves, it just sends that event. Okay, refresh the page.
All right.
And if you refresh the page, technically you didn't get that connect event, but if I start moving my mouse, okay, what happened? ID is not, oh, this needs to be, sorry, I broke it. Okay, refresh the page. And you can see my mouse. You should be able to see my mouse now.
Refreshing the page. Yeah, I see yours.
Yeah, and if I refresh the page and you start moving your mouse, I can still see you even though I wasn't there whenever you connected.
But I can't see yours anymore.
But I'm not moving. How about now?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I think this is the way to go, because that way the server doesn't have to um, keep a list of all connected clients. Just whenever a mouse moves, every single client gets that message and can add it to the page if it doesn't have it yet. Yeah. Okay. I think what I want to do is I just want to deploy this really quick, and so we can see a bunch of people's mice on the screen. But then we can try to start implementing some things that people are saying, like whenever a user connects, you send an event that has all of the users and mouse locations on it. So when they connect, they instantly see everyone's mouse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try this. Sergi is saying add this CSS to set the cursor as a mouse. Let me see. Okay, I think I'll look for it. Emoji icons? Emoji favicon. I should just be able to download the mouse favicon. That's not the Mac one, though. Generate an emoji favicon in your terminal. Let's try it. Oh, I guess that's true. Oliver's saying it's always going to be different for someone. I don't know if this is what you had in mind, but because emojis are Unicode, depending on what machine you're on, you're actually going to see different mice.
Oh, wow.
And I guess
That's pretty
like
cool.
technically, Tony, you see different. You actually you don't. If you look at my screen, do you see this mouse or do you see a different
No,
one?
I see the Windows one.
Yeah, so that's what will happen. I think that's okay though. It did create this favicon. Nice. Cool. Okay. But if I rename this to mouse.ico, and we'll move this mouse.ico into the source directory, we can actually set a cursor property on the user. So yeah, so in our styles, we'll say cursor is URL source / mouse.ico. So now when I move mine, no, it's not working. Yeah. Oliver is saying just hide your own cursor and let the web app render an element for you anyways. Yeah, we could do that. Let's do it. Essentially, we just stop checking this if the ID is the same. And now we'll just say cursor is none. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, if you refresh the page.
All right, refreshing the page. Yep.
Nice. All right, I want to deploy this, and then yes, we can go to for the stretch goal. Maybe we make it so that there's like a block of cheese falling, and then the mice have to hit it up to keep it up, but otherwise it falls to the ground. Cool. Look, Tony, I moved my mouse like off to the right. If you scroll to the right, do you see it? Because like now it's like
Yeah, yeah,
offsetting.
yeah. You can see. Yeah, basically, I have to scroll to get over to it.
Cool. Yeah.
Actually, I wonder how far you can make it go. Like if I went over to the right, and then you scroll over to the right, and then you go to the right.
Yeah, we could just keep going forever.
Oh, that's wild.
Wait, where is your mouse right now? Is it off to the right?
Yeah, like way off. I don't even
Okay.
know.
Okay, I want to push this to GitHub and deploy it, so let's do that. Whoa. We definitely want to add... I think we want to add the dist to the git ignore, though. There we go. Here. So one thing that happened was our dist folder got committed, and this is the folder that gets generated by Parcel, but we actually don't want that in our Git repo. So I need to remove that right quick. Yeah, so I'm going to kill the Parcel server and just remove that folder. Yeah. Actually, just so it's not in Git, I'm going all the way back. I'm going to remove that Git folder again. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Well, I wanted to remove dist, not add it. And I didn't want it to be in the Git history, so that's why I'm starting from scratch. Okay, all the latest code should be on GitHub. Dist folder isn't there, that's great. And all of our wonderful codes are there too. Awesome, let's deploy this thing. So I don't think our server needs any, we don't have a database. It's nothing special. Yeah, we don't really have any environment variables. I think the only thing that we're going to need to update is on our client, we need to determine what URL to connect to instead of localhost. So let's go ahead and deploy the server. I'm going to use now for that. So just type now in the server directory. Oh, I see. So Oliver was saying we could have remove any changes done to dist, and then your commit amend would overwrite the previous commit, so you wouldn't have to have done the force push like I did. That's okay though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start wrapping it up pretty soon, man.
Yeah, I think we'll call it there instead of doing the stretch stuff. But I do want to see at least 20 mice on the screen all at the same time.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I'll give this an alias. cool. So now this is our server URL. And then on our client, we'll just do some logic. If window.location.hostname is equal to localhost, then contact localhost. Otherwise, connect to our deployed server. Whoa. All right. I think parcel has a build command. Let's add that really quick to our client. You just look that up. Parcel bundler build. Get started. Parcel watch. I think it watches by default. Build for production. When you're ready to build for production, see the production section. Parcel build. Index.html. Okay. So now in the client, we'll do npm run build. That generated the dist directory, and so if we go into the client directory and then the dist directory, we'll deploy this to a separate server. Okay. I think this is it. Can you go here, Tony?
Trying to go mouse with friends.
I see someone else's mouse. Is that your mouse?
That is not me.
It's somebody else then. It's like jumping all over the screen. Hey, there you are.
I'm here now.
There you are. Okay, cool. There's somebody else too. All right, I'm gonna share it. Everybody who's watching, let's break the server.
Oh!
Yay!
Yeah, they're coming in. Oh god!
Whoa! Nice. Wow.
How many can we get?
Yeah, that's so many socket connections.
Let's see if we can like line them all up.
All right, everybody, let's line up. Let's go like diagonal, top to bottom.
Yeah, top to bottom.
Linny says the first mouse was them. That's awesome. Now I don't know which one's me anymore.
Just gonna move it real slow. We're gonna like slowly line them up. They're all going crazy.
The stream's delayed though, so they wouldn't have heard you say let's line up.
Yeah. I think they're slowly starting to figure it out. It's happening.
This is so funny.
They're slowly lining up. It's like an interesting study in like hive mind dynamics.
All right, I'm gonna refresh the page. Yeah, I think the thing is like I can't tell which mouse is mine though.
I did for a second when I was moving real slow.
There I am. Yeah, but it's just so slow to update locally.
Yeah. Okay, I found myself again. Yeah, somebody's going crazy.
Cool. Yeah, so EPZ just mentioned maybe you can add usernames above mice. Yeah, so let's line up along the top. That'd be good. I'm just gonna send a message.
Can you display commands like on the screen,
Like for them?
or just like in general? Like you could just like randomly display like an H1 that says like everybody move to the left.
No, no, because it's a deployed app. Like we
Um,
could set up sockets to do that, where like I could set a message that everyone can see.
so it's like almost like Simon Says
Yeah,
or
I'm
something.
gonna try to go to it on my phone.
That's really funny. Yeah, I didn't think there'd be so many.
Oh
It's
well,
just jumping around.
yeah, I want to show this really quick because I have Android, so the mouse is like quite different. I don't know if you can see that.
There's some mice that are just like kind of stuck, but yeah, like most of them are all lining up at the top.
It's great. This is so good. Oh, there we go. It's not as delayed anymore. Maybe because so many people aren't moving anymore. This is funny. Okay, I think we need to end it there. Tony has stuff to do. I'm gonna go skateboarding. But challenges for the user. Let's add some like stretch goals where you all can submit a pull request, or maybe we can do this on a future stream. Um, what are some other things we can add to this, Tony?
We're definitely talking about having some sort of like game type thing where like let's say all the mice um, that come in at a certain point are like designated to a certain side of the screen. We basically almost have like a Pong type thing.
I would say like
Um,
keep the cheese up.
yeah, keep the cheese up.
Or what if there was
Uh,
like a giant block of cheese in the middle, and you just have to eat the cheese, and you gain points by eating cheese?
there could be like maybe a cat, like a little computer controlled cat that tries to get the mice.
Yeah. So one is cat chases all the mice.
I like that I could just keep this in another window and it's just like they're still just jumping around.
Yeah, I mean, so right now, at least my stats say there are 92 people watching the live stream, so there's quite a few people, at least on the page. Let's do this. Let me see how many spans are on the page. So there are 30 people connected to the website right now.
Yeah, it looks like there's a few people that are like on it but haven't disconnected. So
Yeah, so they too just have the page open, but they're not moving it.
yeah,
Yeah, and so the I think one thing that some people are experiencing is when you move your mouse, it's like extremely laggy, and the main reason that is because we don't update the location of your mouse until you get that message back from the server. So there's that. We could definitely fix that though. So let's actually add that to the stretch. We'll say move local mouse without listening to server, without waiting for server message. Cool.
it's so goofy.
It's silly. It's very silly. Okay. Any other thoughts for stretch things?
I mean, I don't know how crazy it would be to like have it set up to where like the mice actually change like orientation based on the direction they're moving.
Oh, weird.
So like for example, it kind of defaults to where the mice are looking to the left, but like what if they would look up if they were moving up and right? You know what I mean? Like it would do like an inversion, like a flip.
Yeah, so it orients to the direction of travel.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think it probably depends on your internet connection. It probably also depends on the speed of the device you're using it on. If things are lagging, let me refresh the page.
See if we can get like a tornado going.
Yeah, so I refreshed the page, and then all the mice that haven't moved in a while, I'm not seeing those anymore because it's not sending a message to the server. Go full screen.
This is definitely one of those instances of science going too far. For a while, like the elephant thing was my favorite thing that we did on here, and I think this is better than the elephant.
Cool. If you all didn't see that, we built an Electron app that would allow you to keep track of what's on your clipboard, and every time you copied something, it would play an elephant sound. Okay, I think that's it. All the code is up on GitHub. I'll push up these last few changes. Thanks everyone for watching. That was super fun. There's a ton you could do this. You could make it not lag. Like you could, instead of sending every single message to every single client, I'm just laughing at how crazy all these mice are. You could keep all of that info on the server and then send one event every 200 milliseconds with the location of all mice. And that way your clients aren't getting hundreds and hundreds of messages. They're just getting one message with all of the info every 200 milliseconds or something like that. Let's add that to the stretch because that would be an interesting way to code it as well. Server sends all mice locations on an interval. Cool. All right, super fun. And oh yeah, there's some more stretch. Yeah, so we had show usernames above mouse or like show some indicator of the current user's mouse. Okay, I think that's enough. Any last words, Tony, before we close out?
Thanks for everybody for watching, and thanks for getting on the actual web app.
Yeah, this is super fun. It's so fun to get audience participation and like see this happen.
I don't think we've ever actually done anything where you can actually see everybody together. Like we had the emoji thing where everybody could kind of do stuff and like the message board, but it's kind of cool to almost like see everybody in this like same like little virtual space.
Yeah, it's our little virtual world of mice emojis. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful afternoon, morning, evening, or night. We'll see you next time. Here's this.